Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Nightveils Cauldron of Horror because it's Halloween month and October is full of scary frights and stuff. And so pretty much all month I'm going to be reviewing horror comics and comics of the Macabra. This is from 1991, but before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own comics. This is Random Access. It's a full size, sometimes full color. I'm going back to color, but it's black and white for the last couple months. But it's, like I said, it's full size comic book, and it has 12 pages, and you can get these at patreon.com/Alex Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, for more stuff. And this also has a backup by Chris Knox and Paul Courtjohn. And you can also just message me at alexturbin04401 at yahoo.com or alexturbin04401 at Instagram. So like I said, at alexanderturbin.com, you can get Cyrene the Cleric and Mutandis and all of my other older comics that I've done previously in the past. But let's get on to Nightveils Cauldron of Horror. I can't remember if I've read any other FemForce. This really was not my genre previously. I'm kind of into it now, and I think I might try to go get some more FemForces and stuff like that because it's kind of cool. So apparently, FemForce is a combination of modern characters and older 1940s public domain characters. Like there's Miss Victory and Hellcat. Hellcat? I can't remember if that's her name. But yes, there's Stardust, Sin, Miss Victory, and She-Cat. I think Miss Victory and She-Cat are the public domains characters, but I guess there's a bunch of different public domain characters in here in the different FemForce stories, and that's pretty cool. I did a piece on one of the Crom anthologies that came out recently, and that's a public domain character. So using public domain characters is always pretty fun. This came out in 1991 and is drawn by Dick Ayers and inked by Mark Hike and Bill Black and written by Bill Black. They're both gone. They both passed away. They're older. They were both older guys when this came out. Like 1928, I think, is when Dick Ayers was born. So they were like Golden Age and Silver Age artists and writers and stuff. And Dick Ayers actually was one of the inkers for Jack Kirby back in the 60s when he was doing all of his stuff with Marvel and before then, I guess. So he's got quite the pedigree of his artistic abilities. So this is number 3, and I don't have 1 or 2, and I think I might go back and try to find them. But this is, like I said, Nightveils Cauldron of Horror, and let's go through the story. And there's actually 2 stories. I'm just going to go through the first one, and possibly I'll go through the next one at some later time. But I just kind of really want to get into this and really get into the FemForce world, I guess, because I had heard that FemForce was gaining some popularity. Like I guess FemForce #1 or something was a hot book on one of the mobile apps that you get for grading comics and stuff like that. But I really was never into it. It's good girl art, and I really never knew what good girl art was. But I guess it's just it's risque drawing women that is not too. It's not over the top. It's not too much. There's no real nudity, but it's really the line work and stuff like that that's really into the good girl stuff. And I'm really loving the line work in this stuff. And I really kind of think I'm gonna try to get some more and see what I can find. So, FemForce is a all-female superhero team, and which is really pretty cool. And so the girls have decided, I guess, on Halloween, Nightveil always regales them with a horror story. And this year they've decided to go to a cemetery in the middle of the night and talk about the horror stuff. I guess one of them kind of glows, so there's no problem with the light. But and Nightveil has her cloak is as night sky or space or something like that, kind of like one of my new characters that I just came up with. So that's pretty cool. I think I might have to draw her sometime soon. So anyway, the girls are all in the cemetery and they want to be entertained by Nightveil's horror stories. So she kind of they've got a lot of banter going on between them. I mean, they're a typical superhero team where some of them give each other a hard time, and some of them are mean to each other. And they're female, so they're even a little bit more catty and stuff. I mean, not to pigeonhole women as that kind of thing, but I guess in the way that a lot of writers have seemed to use women in comics or in general, that they have this certain personality of being snippy or catty or whatever. So they are very much catty and kind of go after each other and kind of give each other a hard time and stuff like that. But that's the same in every superhero team. I mean, the X-Men, Wolverine and Cyclops, and you have the Avengers with Tony Stark and Captain America. So every superhero team has that banter and that good-natured giving each other a hard time until the villain comes along. So really, that's one of the big things here, where they're kind of going at each other. But Nightveil has had enough, and she's like, "It's time for my story, so shut the hell up." So she's talking about the Haunter. And I don't know if the Haunter is a public domain character. I kind of think he is. And where he just kind of, he's like EC's or Creepy's crypt keeper or something like that. He kind of just shares his stories about what kind of scary things have happened and stuff like that. So this is called Denise Macabra. So Nightveil is just kind of letting everybody know who the Haunter is and how it's going to go and how the story is going to be conveyed. And the Haunter, I guess he lives in Limbo, and there's all of these different people in Limbo with all of these different stories. So the Haunter just stops one of them at random, and he's like, "Tell me your story." And she's like, "I don't have a story." And the Haunter's like, "Everybody has a story. I'm going to bring it to the forefront and show it to everybody." So it's got her. I can't remember her name. Lisa, I think. Let's see. Denise Powell. Because it's Denise Macabra. So Denise and her sister at the pool. This is supposed to be, I don't know if it's supposed to be in the 40s, 50s, or 60s. All of these good girl comics are usually older style. I don't know. I really don't know, because it takes place in 1991, but it doesn't look like it's a 90s comic or anything like that. I don't know if this is reprinted or if this is just Dick Ayers doing the story at the time. If anybody has any kind of knowledge about Femforce or it's AC, which is Americomics. And I guess they had a bunch of different publishing names. But if anybody has any kind of knowledge about Americomics or any of this kind of Femforce and Nightveil and all that stuff, please let me know, because I was Googling it up as I was reading it and stuff like that. And really, I could not find a whole lot of stuff on the wiki page or on anything like that. So there's got to be a lot more information on this whole good girl, because I know that's a whole subsection of comics that a lot of comics fans enjoy, and I kind of could get into that too myself. Cyrene is almost an offshoot of that. It's more like the Frank Frazetta Good Girl art with the Red Sonja and stuff like that. But I think that would be an offshoot of Good Girl art. So anyway, Denise is talking to her sister, and they see this guy, and he's on the diving board, and they're kind of discussing him and stuff. And I guess Denise has already asked him out, and the sister's very jealous and angry. The sister is really horrible. And so she's like, even though you already asked him out, and before I could, I'm going to come mess your life up. And so they go to this dance club, which harkens back to Lucy. I Love Lucy, and Desi worked at that nightclub, the Mama Bamba or whatever it was, and they were always going to the nightclub and stuff. So that's kind of what I just think of is I Love Lucy. I kind of think of I Love Lucy, this whole thing, this whole 50s, 40s, 50s scenario, I guess. And there's this woman dancer and the guy, the rich guy, because he's rich. He's like a multi-millionaire or whatever, and that's why the girls are after him. So the sister, Denise's sister, is like stalking them, and she's behind every corner, seeing what they're saying, listening in, trying to get a foothold onto something that's going to happen, and trying to find a way to trip her sister up and get the rich guy for herself. So there's this mystical dancer that he really loves, and like he is super enamored with her, and the Denise doesn't really understand it. She's not really doesn't really jive with the dancer, the sexy dancer. I think she's an exotic dancer, and I think she takes her clothes off of the panels. I think it's she's a stripper of some sort. Maybe they didn't have strippers back then. I mean, you think of things like that, and I think they just get down to their bare essentials without actually showing any nudity. I'm not entirely sure. But they go back to their dressing room because apparently the billionaire playboy millionaire, because I don't think there were any billionaires at that time, wants to introduce Denise to the dancer, and they're having some nice talk and stuff, and the dancer is actually says, haha, my dancing is not for the ladies, is it, Rick? And so Rick, she's some kind of stripper or something, I think. Maybe Rick has had sex with her. Who knows? I don't know. But the sister is still following her, and there's an old lady with the exotic dancer here, and she looks very creepy, and the sister thinks she looks creepy, and she sees her in the window, and she's some sort of, the dancer is actually a zombie, and the old woman is like some sort of voodoo queen or whatever. And so the sister, she's going to go and try to take this into her advantage and stuff. So the sisters are again at the beach or at the pool or whatever, and they're kind of discussing what to do about the rich guy and the dancer, because the dancer, as far as they're concerned, is in the way. So the sister actually brings up the fact that Denise should kill the dancer. And so they kind of go back and forth. Denise doesn't really want to do it, but she's kind of thinking, yeah, I might have to, in order to get the $50 million from this dude, I might have to actually kill this person. So the sister goes to the bar or whatever, and Denise is going off to see the boyfriend and stuff. And she orders a drink, and there's eyeballs in it and stuff. I guess the bartender just says it's olives, but so that's just like a foreshadowing of some sort of horrific thing that's going to happen. And it does happen. Denise actually decides that she can't risk the dancer taking her multimillionaire boyfriend away from her, so she stabs her. But there's no blood. She doesn't wake up. It's no. She's obviously a zombie or a corpse or whatever. So the old lady comes in, and she's like, she's already been dead, blah, 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 blah. And Denise runs off, and she's all scared. At the bedroom that they share a bedroom, I don't know, a motel or whatever. Maybe these two are actually prostitutes as well, trying to get their riches or whatever. And the sister's like changing, and she says, I'm going to go over to the old lady's room and see what's what. So she goes to the old lady's room, going through a dark alley with some smoke and stuff. Very 50s zombie movie kind of cliche kind of stuff. A lot of this stuff is super cliche, but that's perfectly fine. This is a cliche comic, and sometimes cliche is fine. Sometimes it's really fantastic. When I watch zombie movies, Night of the Living Dead or Day of the Dead or whatever, I'm expecting to see a lot of cliches, and if I don't see it, I'm not leaving the show happy. So there's lots of cliches. We love it, and I'm really digging this comic, really, truly. the old lady kind of shows the exotic dancer off. She's showing that she's not dead, even though she has these knife in her chest, and she's doing her last dance. Her last dance is actually raising zombies or undead to get the sisters, to get the sister or whatever, and she rips the knife out of her heart, and she's gonna jump on top of the sister, but then she turns into a corpse. And so the old lady is like, you came here to deal with me, well, let's deal. So they just kind of have an off comic, off panel, off page conversation, and then it goes back to the haunter, and he's kind of reinstating, reshowing the reshowing what's happening, a little bit of a back. It's not a flashback or whatever. It's just kind of resetting and telling the story from a new perspective. So Denise talks about how with the dancer out of the way, the millionaire is hers now. She's got the $50 million. They get married. She's got him wrapped around her finger, and the sister is kind of still there or whatever. Actually, I think afterwards, I think this is after they get married, maybe months, maybe years or whatever. She goes to her sister, and they have a toast celebrating her, Denise's good fortune with the millionaire, and it's poison. The sister has killed Denise, but it's not regular poison. She's turned Denise into a zombie, just much like the dancer. But the ritual isn't complete. I guess they have to bring her to some sort of altar, and they're doing all this stuff. The sister has to do this dancing thing, and she stabs her in the heart, and that's what truly makes her a zombie, because Denise's soul starts to rise up, and she could see all of these creatures and people that were dead and stuff, and she sees the haunter. And finally, the haunter is talking with Denise about what happened, and they're both murderers and stuff like that. And he's saying that he's going to make things right, because even though he likes all these stories, he's trying to find things that aren't right, and kind of go make whoever's bad pay the price, and pay for their evil stuff. And so she's a zombie. She's still under the thrall of the sister, but the sister now, like Denise's body is worthless pretty much. She's not having sex with the millionaire. The millionaire's not happy. So the sister moves in, and she pretty much takes everything that Denise had, but every year, or no, every month, she hands a bag to the old lady, and I don't think it ever actually says what it is. It could be money. It could be I don't know, could be blood and guts, could be hearts, who knows. So this is actually when the haunter goes off and says he's going to make things right. So then they're at the nightclub. I don't know if it's the same nightclub or a different nightclub, but the sister and the millionaire at the nightclub, and there's a new dancer that's going on. So the sister kind of feels like she understands what's happening. But something happens, and she rips the face off of the millionaire, which is kind of not drawn particularly great. But the dancer is Denise. She's got a knife. She's going to stab the sister, but the haunter's like, I'm not going to let you stab her, as you are. So she turns into a ghoul or a zombie or whatever, and the sister is screaming, and she throws the knife. The knife goes into the sister's chest, and bada bing, bada boom. She is now a zombie. I don't know who's controlling her or whatever, but she's now turned into the zombie. So, and then the Femforce are like, oh, that's a scary story, but we want to know the haunter's origin and story and stuff like that. So please tell us that. So that's, I guess, is the next story, is the origin of the haunter, the haunted and the horseman. So I might go through that at some other point. Maybe it'll be an extra video that I do, because it's not very long. It's only like 3 or 4 or 5 pages. But I kind of want to get into the writing. The writing, as I always say, do the characters have different voices? Yes. The writing is very 50s-ish, very like I say, cliche and schlock, and it's but it's fun. One of the big things about good girl art and Femforce and stuff is it's just good fun. It's not very dark, I guess. And like I've never read any other Femforces or anything like that. But I guess it's just good fun and it's not too dark. And even though this is a horror comic and it's not really scary, which I kind of meant to touch on that, where horror is it's a funny thing because it's simultaneously the easiest thing to do in comics and the hardest thing to do in comics because to get a real scare from somebody, you need music and you need movement. I mean, how are you ever going to be scared from a comic? I have never once been frightened in a comic. And some of the greatest horror things I've ever read, I think, are like Alan Moore stuff and I don't know, some of the Stephen King adaptations or stuff like that. There was like Taboo, that book Taboo that Rick Veitch put together, I guess, with a bunch of different artists and stuff. But it wasn't scary, and really comics can't be scary because you don't have sound. So you can't have the build up music or the wee 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 wee, knife stabbing or whatever. Yeah, and you can't have the jump scares. I mean, half of horror is jump scares, and you just can't do that in a comic. It doesn't matter how fast you flip the page; it's still going to be you're reading it and it's not going to be scary. But simultaneously, drawing horror stuff is one of the easier things to do because all you have to do is do some really dark shading and shadowing and even a certain type of line. It's more of like a scritchy, scratchy kind of line. And like put in some skulls and some horror, some creatures and stuff like that. So drawing horror, I think, is kind of an easier thing to do. But actually getting horror and scare factor, that's almost impossible in comics, in my opinion, anyway. If you guys think that's wrong, please let me know. I'm more than happy to discuss other people's opinions on things, especially that in comics art. So yes, the writing, everything's super smooth. It's very enjoyable, very entertaining. All of the characters have different dialogue ways of their talking. The plot moves smoothly. There's no confusion. I'm never confused on anything, and it's intricate enough to keep my attention, and yet not so intricate that it's convoluted and not easy to figure out. It's not confusing at all. It does have a very 50s, 40s comics writing vibe as well as the art, because I mean he was an older artist, so that of course is going to translate into a different kind of style, an older kind of style. So the whole writing is older feeling, and you can tell that this guy Bill Black, he's a super fan of the old 50s and EC and all that stuff. You can tell that he loves that, and he loves the good girl and this whole stuff. So really, it's a labor of love for him, and all of the the writing is really good. So I enjoy the writing. It's not hokey though. If you go back and read, yes, I'm going to say it, Stan Lee's writing. I'm not a huge fan of Stan Lee's writing, and but that is not something I'm going to get into here. Maybe at a later date, I'll discuss my whole feelings on Stan Lee. I think he created only 10% of the Marvel Universe, and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and the rest created the rest. But okay, there, I said it. If you guys disagree with me, let me know. But it's not hokey, and I mean, yes, it is cliche, like I've said, but it's not hokey, and it's believable, and it's enjoyable, and it's fun to read. It's fun to go from panel to panel and from page to page. So it's really enjoyable. The writing is really good. The art is I'm thinking that I might check out some more Good Girl art, because if this is a good example of Good Girl art, I don't know what a great example is. If anybody has any advice as to where to start for what is the best Good Girl art or Good Girl artist, let me know. I really would like to maybe tip my toe into some Good Girl stuff. So yeah, the art is really clean, which I guess is one of the tenets of Good Girl art, is that it's clean, and I mean everything is very nice and neat, and it's all of the characters move smoothly, all of the emotions. I mean, he's got really great emotions and figures. I mean, his figures are beautiful. They're not Frazetta. I mean, there's a certain comic book, not comic book. I hate it when people say comic book like 1950s comic book, like 1950s and 60s type of vibe, I guess, where the lines are a little bit bigger. The pages and the panels have a standard five, 6 panels, so nothing really stands out. There's not a huge amount of foreshortening like uh, Kirby would do, which is perfectly fine because even though there's a lot of action in the book, it's not that kind of superheroish action. It's more like just kind of dancing or stuff like that. So the women are beautiful and very clean and very like I said, cliche 1950s type comic book stuff. But it's a really great story. I really enjoyed it. It's hard to say what I would give this as a review, but I'm going to try. I'm going to have to go back and read. So I'm going to have to read some other Good Girl stuff and see what I think there. As far as art, I think is really good, really clean. I really enjoy it. What am I going to go looking for more Dick Ayers stuff? No, I'm not. Am I going to go out to eBay and look up some Femforce and Nightveils Cauldron and get them if they're 20 or $30? No, I'm not going to do that. If they're in the dollar bin, gonna pick them up. If they're $2 or $3, $4, I might pick them up there too. But I'm not going to spend a huge amount of money on it. But saying that, like I said, that's kind of a 7, so that's my base. So does the writing go above that? I think it does. I think that the writing brings it up to an 8 because it's just plain enjoyable. It's an enjoyable read. It's a nice, fun read. I'm going to give it an 8.5 because the art also bumps it up. It doesn't take it down, but I can't give it a 9 because it's not one of those stories that I like. It's not going to stay with me. I'll probably forget it next year or, a few months from now. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to run out and get the collected volume of Femforce. So I can't really make it a 9. I think having a 9, it has to be something that you're ready to go out and purchase more of it right now. Like you're going to go to the comic book store and ask your LCS vendor if they have some of these. I'm not going to do that, but it's still really great. So I'm going to give it an 8.5. I don't know if I've given some things 9s. Maybe I've been a little liberal with the 9s because I really kind of think that to have a 9 or 10, it has to be really something really super spectacular. And this is really, it's fun, it's great, but it's not spectacular. So yeah, I'm giving it an 8.5. And thanks for watching. And if you guys like this kind of content and you're new to the channel, and this is like the first video you've seen of mine, I do a whole bunch of 80s, 90s, 2000s indie comics. I review all kinds of different stuff, some Marvel stuff, some newer indie comics, stuff like that. So if you like that kind of stuff, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell and giving me a thumbs up if you like this kind of stuff and if you like this issue of Nightveils Cauldron of Horror or Femforce. And please let me know if you guys like Good Girl art because I'm really thinking that I might tip my toe into it. And so thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time, and keep on creating.